This video is about the cognitive function slots. So there are 8 cognitive functions and there's 8 cognitive function slots. 4 are in your ego and 4 are in your shadow. Now, how this works is, well, actually I'm just going to go through them. So the first slot is called your hero slot. It's optimistic. It's where you're strongest. And it is about pride versus humility. So whatever function you have in your hero slot, that's how that operates. Your second slot is your parent slot. It's kind of like it's a pessimistic function, whichever function it is, and it's the responsible part of someone's personality. It's where they show up responsibly or irresponsibly. The third function slot is your child. It's like a 10-year-old child. It's optimistic. It really wants to prove itself. It's like if you think about a 10-year-old and how they want to be good at something, but they need a little bit of help. They need people to validate them. So it's where that function will show up like, I really want to be validated. Can someone please just tell me I'm doing a good enough job here? And so if you know what your child slot is, and if you're with somebody who has that function as a hero, that's like a really good kind of, that person can help you if they know how to be an effective teacher. Okay. The fourth slot is called the infant or the inferior. And it's also the gateway to your subconscious mind. And that's according to the way C.S. Joseph teaches the 16 personalities system, or Jungian Psychology, which is who I've been studying under recently. So it is a pessimistic function, and it's kind of where you are it's opposite the hero. And so, like, for example, if you have SE hero, then you would have NI inferior. If you have FE hero, you would have TI inferior. It's going to be the same as far as perceiving function or judging function, but it will be the opposite as far as introverted function versus extroverted function. So an inferior slot is like where you are the least aware, but when you lean into that function and you start to strive, that's where you kind of find more balance in how you present yourself, and it's how you become more attractive as a person. So if you feel like someone is kind of driving you insane, it's probably because their hero function is working overtime and is out of balance. And if you help connect them to their inferior function, by saying something directed to like put their mind into their inferior function, then they will have to answer you. They'll have to find balance. I don't know if I said that very effectively. To respond to your question, it will put them into balance. So for example, if say someone's an FE hero and they have a TI inferior, and you say to them, but what's true to you? What do you think? That's really what you need to ask TI. People have TI and their ego is, but what do you think? Okay. So, or if it's the opposite, say you have a TI hero with an FE inferior, okay? Because they're going to be switched in. That's kind of how things work. So if someone has TI hero, they always have FE inferior, extroverted feeling. So, like, if that, in the case of that person, how do you think everyone else is feeling right now? What do you notice about how the other people are feeling right now? Getting a TI hero to actually like be around people to see how they're needed, what people's emotional needs are, is a great way to help a TI hero find balance, because you're putting them into the awareness of their inferior function. And so I could do a video on that for all the types, but that's not the point of this video. So we're going to talk about the shadow types, the shadow functions. So the fifth function is the nemesis function, and it's going to be the opposite from the hero. So opposite in the sense that it's going to be opposite same function, but like opposite, introvert, extrovert. So if you have like TE hero, you're going to have TI nemesis. Okay. And the nemesis is where someone's fear or worry exists. So for example, in the TE hero, TI nemesis, that person is going to have a TI nemesis that shows up like, but what's really true? Like the TE hero is going to say like, this is what's efficient, this is what's effective, but the TI nemesis will be like, but what's really true? What do I really think is true? What's logical? So then the sixth function down is the critic function or the cynic. And it's often how they critique others or how you critique them. This is like where they need to be. If you're going to criticize someone, go to their critic function, and that is the criticism you need to give them. They don't need any other criticism because it will hit them the wrong way. But if you hit them in the critic, that is going to be the most effective way. So let's say you're talking to an ISTJ. Okay. Now ISTJ has introverted sensing hero, extroverted thinking parent. So that means the opposite of extroverted thinking parent is, this is like the same example as the last one almost, but it's in a different place, is introverted thinking critic. So how you're going to criticize an ISTJ is what's really true, what's really logical. I think I should do another example because it's very similar to the last example. I don't know how I came up with that. Let's say you're talking to an ESTJ, okay? That means now the SI and the TE are flipped. So you have an SI parent. That means they have an SE critic. So the way you would criticize an ESTJ would be to say, what kind of an experience are you giving to other people? So it's just or you are giving people a bad experience. That is how you would criticize SE critic. Okay. FE critic, I have FE critic. How are you making other people feel? Or this is how you're making other people feel, or you are making other people feel bad. Someone who has FI critic, on the other hand, you would say, well, what are your morals? What are your values? How do you actually feel about this? What's authentic for you? So that's kind of how the critic slot works. The seventh slot down is called the trickster function. And it is where people are kind of, it's like anything goes. People will think like anything is possible here, but it's a very unrealistic part of them, because it's a function in the shadow. So with the trickster slot, you have to realize that this is where someone's going to be unreasonable. So like someone with FE trickster, extroverted feeling trickster, they'll be like, any kind of feeling that other people could have could be a good one, so they'll be not very compassionate. Someone with SE trickster, any kind of any way I influence other people or any experience I give to people could be okay. People with TI critic, anything can be true, anything can be false. So, and I'll just say that what I've noticed about the critic function is that there is, even though that person can be very unreasonable in that function, according to those around them, it also has like a little bit of a light side, because I've just noticed that like in some ways it's almost endearing how they're foolish in this way, but like in other ways it's ridiculous. So you have to kind of understand and realize like it's not like this part of this person's personality is just all bad, all good or all bad. It's not like that, but it's just has a tendency to be less realistic than the other parts of their personality, the other parts of their ego. Okay, and then the eighth function down is called your demon function. And it's where people tend to dismiss other people's experience, okay? So, well, that's on the dark side, but on the light side, it's where they learn, it's kind of the lesson of like what they're learning to embrace. So, for example, if someone has NE demon, they tend to dismiss extrovert intuition. They dismiss the possibilities. And so they have to learn to embrace that there's a lot of different possible futures. People with SE demon tend to dismiss what is other people's comfort level, what's comfortable to other people. People with TE demon will dismiss other people's voice and opinions, and they need to embrace the need to listen. People with an FE demon tend to be dismissive about what other people value or what other people feel, and they have to learn how to be embracing of what other people feel. People with TI demon tend to dismiss truth in favor of belief, but they have to become accepting that their belief and truth are not always the same thing. Now, one other thing to understand about the demon function is that the demon function is the gateway to someone's superego. So if you take someone's shadow functions and you flip them all around and you figure out what ego, what personality has this, that's the person's superego. And that's the side of their mind that they go into if like everything else is just failing in life, and like they're gonna basically become an evil person. Like that is how their psyche works. They also have their unconscious and their subconscious. Someone's subconscious is their ego functions flipped upside down. So whatever type would have their inferior as the hero and everything else just flipped. And the unconscious type is just the first four of the shadow. So the fifth function would be like that type's first function, if that makes sense. So you have four sides of your mind, four different personalities of your mind, and they're all going to be in the same temple. So hopefully I have another video about that. If not, I will. Thanks for watching.